The last day of summer, Chapter 37. Exit stage left. Time Star leapt between Mr. Flux and the boys at the last possible second, taking the full brunt of the flash. Now immobilized, he spoke through barely parted lips. "You better make this worth it. Go, guys." So they did. Using already frozen combatants as cover, the boys rushed to their time suck and shimmied up its side. Otto gently coaxed the beast into motion while Sheed yelled at Mr. Flux, "If you want us, come get us." Whipping his bendy limbs about, Mr. Flux mounted the nearest time suck, digging his heels into its flank, forcing it into a run while he attempted another shoot. The camera flashed, but missed as Otto and Sheed's time suck made a sharp right and darted from town square. Mr. Flux's time suck bucked after them like a marshal chasing stagecoach robbers in the old black and white westerns Grandma liked. From town square to Main Street, from Main Street past the park towards that steep hill leading to Fry High. Otto and Sheed hugged tightly to their time suck's fur as it dipped and dodged Mr. Flux's repeated attempts to freeze them in their tracks. Bounding up the hill to Fry High, the creature barreled through the hole it created earlier, following its original course to the library. Otto tugged lightly on the furry grip, turning it in a different direction. "Now this time, girl." He guessed it was a girl. In the quiet halls, Mr. Flux's angry shouting carried. "Is this another desperate ploy for some way to defeat me? More yearbooks? So futile." Otto and Sheed's time suck galloped full speed towards a set of double doors. "Hang on," Sheed said, pressing his face into soft fur. Otto ducked his head an instant before impact. The time suck tore through the wall, destroying the doors and the sign above it in the process. Despite the jarring impact, Otto and Sheed were fine. They climbed from the beast, weaved through time-frozen debris, then sprinted to the front of the room. Sheed craned his neck, taking in the vast space. "What now? Hide?" No. Otto kept them in the open, on stage, the center of attention. That's what this room's intended purpose. "But he's coming." Mr. Flux, not to be outdone, forced his beast through a different section of wall, creating more destruction. He didn't seem to notice where he'd been driving his time suck until this very moment. Otto had counted on this. The sign over the door, the one they destroyed with their crashing entrance, had said, "Auditorium." "Come on," Otto said, climbing up onto the stage. "He can see us." "I know." Sheed's natural inclination to fight his cousin buzzed stronger than ever, yet he followed because that's what they did. That was all there was to it, through arguments, through temptation to rule beside Mr. Flux. So if they got frozen for all of time on that stage, at least they'd be together. Mr. Flux halted his time suck, stood in his surroundings. "Oh, I see." He leapt from the beast's back, strolled coolly down the aisle between the many rows of seats meant for student assemblies and choir concerts and plays. Mr. Flux's smile was genuine. "You're trying to appeal to some sort of nostalgia, aren't you? I was created in this room. Perhaps you can convince me that I should do things differently, that I can be a better person." He made a flying leap, landing on the stage mere yards from Otto and Sheed. "You boys are sweet, courageous champions of your county. The lazy, undriven residents don't deserve you, which is perfect because they won't have you much longer." He raised the camera, aimed. "It's a shame we couldn't work together. You two will make lovely monuments to my triumph, though. Are you ready?" Sheed cut his eyes to Otto, waiting for some signal, another maneuver. Otto only said, "Whenever you are." "Such brave boys." Mr. Flux pressed the shutter button, and a sun-bright flash obliterated shadows for a microsecond. Then all was still. Otto and Sheed remained as statues. Mr. Flux drew closer, admiring his latest trophies. "I know you can hear me, and I understand if you don't want to respond, though I am curious. What did you really hope to accomplish here? All you did was prolong my inevitable victory." "Inevitable is a very strong word, don't you think, Sheed?" "Sure do, Otto." The boys moved, effortlessly, unfrozen. Panicked, Mr. Flux leapt backwards. He aimed the camera, fired another flash. The boys winced at the bright light, but approached Mr. Flux slowly, still unfrozen. "How?" Mr. Flux examined the camera, then fired again and again and again. Sheed had the same question, but knew his cousin well enough to get that they'd all have answers soon enough. Otto shouted, "Come in, everyone." Two blurs zipped into the auditorium, AM and PM carrying Time Star and Petey. The golden hours placed the two men on their feet, and they climbed onto the stage beside Otto and Sheed. Petey handed a familiar device to Otto, the real camera. A bug-eyed Mr. Flux examined his own device, perplexed. Otto explained. Wiki and Lean's robot was the key. It was big enough to distract you and strong enough to knock you around while my fast friends swapped cameras. They've been hanging on to the real one. Otto held it high ever since. You think you're so smart, don't you? Well, Mr. Flux lunged away, attempting to exit stage left. Otto's nimble fingers handled the camera with ease, aiming and snapping a photo. The flash left Mr. Flux stuck in his sprinter's pose, arms at runner's angles, one knee high. The accompanying photo spilled from the camera into Sheed's waiting hand. Otto said, all the shots you took after the switch produced no pictures. It's the one thing Petey couldn't get the replica camera to do. Thank goodness you were too mad to notice. We were counting on that. Why? Mr. Flux spat with unmoving lips. So you could convince me to unfreeze your world and let all of your unmotivated humans continue wasting time and opportunities? Well, you're going to be disappointed. I don't care that I'm frozen. It's not so different from all the years I spent stuck watching you people squander all your time. I know what happens if this freeze isn't undone. If I stay stuck, Fry stays stuck. I still win. Now that was alarming. Mr. Flux had a point, and she didn't know what to do about it. He flicked his eyes to Otto, whose face was pinched with concern, but not dire concern, more like tricky maneuver concern. What now? She'd said. Time Star held his time travel device in his palm, triggered it with his thumbs. A pair of blue lasers shot from the device, tracing a tall, wide rectangle, a door, in thin air. Maneuver number 75, Otto said. We're going back in time. Chapter 38, Maneuver number 75. With the blazing blue door open, Otto asked Petey, Are you ready? Frowning, Petey nodded. As I'll ever be. Otto motioned to AM and PM. The golden hours grabbed frozen Mr. Flux. Get your hands off me, Mr. Flux protested. AM said, This is a really good look for you, darling. Trust us, said PM. We're experts. They pushed him through the time door. Petey clenched his fist and ran through before he could chicken out. Time Star said, You two first. Otto linked arms with Sheed. Sheed said, This seems risky. There was a hesitance in Otto. Most people wouldn't have noticed, but Sheed had been begging him too long. When Otto craned his neck and locked eyes with Time Star, there was something weird there, something scary. What? She didn't know. Otto faced Sheed. It's only risky when we don't have each other's back. Come on. Together they leapt into the light. There was a whooshing sensation. Sheed's stomach dropped like they were in an elevator going down too fast. When the sensation became so powerful that Sheed thought he might be sick, it stopped, and they were on the stage again. Did it not work? Hey, some strange new voice shouted. What are you doing on my stage? You're interrupting my rehearsal. They weren't alone in a time-frozen auditorium like they'd been a moment ago. No, all around them Sheed saw motion, flowing dresses and veils, boys primping in the badly fitted suits like his own. A young Donnie O'Doyle as Abraham Lincoln, his glued-on beard peeling at the sideburns while he clutched a young Petey Thunkle by his paint-stained overalls. There was a slip of paper in Donnie's hand, the letter inviting young Petey to the Turing Unified Research and Development Institute, the letter that started all their problems. Old Petey Thunkle, who had spent the last decade doubting himself, discouraging himself, disapproving himself, and finding some way every day to consider himself disqualified from any good that might come from his smarts, did not see the letter as the problem. He'd made that clear to Otto before they set out on this adventure. Otto had come up with the plan to make this right. Maneuver number 75 was Petey's, and Petey's alone. Everyone else was backup. What is this? Said frozen Mr. Flux, unable to intervene. This is you not winning, Otto whispered near his ear. Then loudly, Go for it, Petey. Old Petey approached young Petey, who still struggled in Donnie O'Doyle's tight grip. At that moment, a young, camera-toting Anna Archie entered the auditorium wearing a perplexed expression. Both old Petey and young Petey became fixed on her. Time Star intervened, assisting the Peteys by tapping Donnie on the shoulder. Come on, let him go. Not bold enough to challenge an adult, Donnie released young Petey. Time Star plucked the Turing letter from his hand, passed it to old Petey, then guided Donnie away. At an appropriate point, Time Star planted a boot in Donnie's coattails and sent the boy flying off the stage. A short yelp and hard thud later, he was sprawled on the floor, his classmates his castmates, rushing forward to coddle him, leaving old Petey and young Petey alone to talk. Anna continued down the auditorium aisle. Petey, are you okay? Old Petey passed young Petey the letter, and young Petey told Anna, I think so. Then to his older self, thanks, sir. She'd leaned into Otto, speaking hushed and fast. That should be it, right? Donnie doesn't call it Turd Institute. No, Mr. Flux. Not exactly. Otto recognized she knew some version of this story, likely from Mr. Flux himself. But when crafting this plan, Petey told Otto the rest. Why changing this moment was important, but not enough. Old Petey went about his mission. You may not believe me right now, he told his young self, though I think you will the more you consider it. I'm you, from the future. Young Petey stepped backwards, checking the best escape routes for getting away from the crazy people quick, fast, and in a hurry. Don't get that look in your eye. My friends and I aren't here to hurt you. If you're afraid of me, then I'm already completed half of what I came to do. You should be plenty scared of becoming this. He jabbed his index finger into his own chest. It sounded like Petey's usual downer talk, though it wasn't. He was a desperate man, trying to save his own life and the lives of everyone in Fry the only way he knew how, by convincing himself not to give up on himself. I work at Mr. Archie's hardware store, said old Petey. At that, Anna stiffened and looked ready to object, but young Petey gave a slight nod and mouthed, We're fine. Old Petey said, It's honest work, and I'd be proud to be someone like Mr. Archie. I'm not even that. Today starts a pattern in our life where we shy away from anything that seems hard or scary or maybe we'll fail at. Donnie was going to tease us and make fun of everything that letter in your hand says. That's on him. When we believe him and let his idiotic words stop us from chasing our dreams, that's on us. There will always be Donnies, people who want to tell us no and can't and shouldn't. I've known that for some time, but have yet to do anything about it. Now I am. I'm begging you to not become me. Don't take 10 years to figure this out. Don't let it be Otto and Sheed and Time Star and Wiki and Lean and the Clock Watchers who help you see what you can be. Do you believe me? Young Petey's eyes brimmed. Yes, you have the same scar on your eyebrow that I have from the propeller on the hovercraft we built when we were 6. Will you go to the Turing Institute? Will you promise? Will you promise to keep trying after that? No matter the negative stuff you hear, especially if that negative stuff is coming from you? A crying young Petey nodded. A single slow clap pattered off stage, and the drama club director, overwhelmed with feels, applauded, as did his lead actress and the boy playing John Wilkes Booth, and louder than all of them, Anna Archie. Petey, both versions, got the first standing ovation of their life, including Mr. Flux, unfrozen somehow. He clapped along, shed tears. Otto, Sheed, and Time Star leapt into defensive positions in case he attacked. Otto aimed the camera at him, attempting to freeze him again. The shutter button wouldn't budge. He shot a panicked look at Sheed, who yelled, Maneuver! That won't be necessary. Mr. Flux held up a halting hand, a hand that seemed less substantial suddenly. Less there, the time freezing. Clock watchers dominated. Cruel and calculated villain of the day was fading like smoke. His hand became see-through, his black suit lightened to gray. From the stage you could see rows and rows of burgundy velvet seats right through him. If you were in those seats, you could see the play set and backdrop through an increasingly translucent man shape. Part of Otto found this horrifying. How Flux was all there a moment ago and slowly, surely wasn't. When he pulled his eyes away from Mr. Flux to Sheed, he didn't feel better, all too aware that the fate Time Star described for his cousin wasn't so different. She did not see the horrors Otto witnessed. He saw resolve. Mr. Flux, whom he had spent a little time with, wasn't being snatched painfully from the world. It seemed easy. He accepted it. Maybe that's why he smiled. The Peteys seemed to recognize some grand new beginning in the disappearance of Mr. Flux, a whole new world of possibilities. So only Otto freaked out when old Petey began to fade, along with the trouble-making camera in his hands. All the trouble old Petey's missed opportunities had caused was being erased from existence. Otto let the disappearing camera fall, now so light and insubstantial. It arced back and forth slowly, like an autumn leaf released from a tree branch, before it touched the stage lightly. The device was not his primary concern. Petey, no, not you! It's okay, old Petey said, his disappearance speeding up. This is what we came here for. Otto's head whipped to an almost completely faded Mr. Flux, who grinned and agreed. I never wanted to be the bad guy, Octavius. In an instant, the camera, old Petey, and Mr. Flux vanished. The auditorium doors crashed open as Principal Prince, who was still Fry High's principal in modern times, burst in with one of young Petey's fellow stagehands, who'd apparently run for help when Otto Sheet and their friends appeared from nowhere. That's our cue, Tom Star said, adjusting his time device for forward motion. That it now worked. Allowing travel into the future was a good sign. She'd asked the obvious question, though. How do we know what we're going back to? Time Star and Otto spoke at once in an eerie harmony that raised goose flesh on Sheet's arms. Only one way to find out. The blazing time door yawned open. The three of them jumped through into the unknown. They did not look back.